Now you might remember this is the tank from the RD that we restored two or 3 years ago, I'm not sure. We restored it for Tim Straub. He had a little boo-boo with it, and we've heard the rumor another bike fell onto it, but I don't know. Looks like somebody took a bullwhip to it or something. But anyway, this is one of the things about, and I wanted to mention this, when we painted the gold on this bike, there was a problem. That was the last of the gold that I had for that. It was from Brodak Dope, and it was Brodak Gold. They don't make that color anymore. So basically, now I have a problem, is I have to match this gold. Because the damaged parts of the tank and the Bondo and stuff is going to go out through the gold. So what I did, I sanded part of the tank, but I left this little section of gold right around behind the gas cap. I left that the way it was. Went down to Chart and paid the premium price to have a camera match gold. And the problem is, and I know this, it's very, very difficult to match gold or silver, especially gold. So when we came back and we had an all new part, we had a brand new can of gold that was camera matched to this bike, and a brand new can of black and a brand new can of thinner. The problem was with this whole thing is that whenever you do these camera matches, there's no guarantee. Now it could be, and the reason I wanted to get a quart, not a pint, is just in case this gold doesn't match and Tim isn't happy with it, what we'll do is we'll have enough paint left over to paint the other parts of the bike the next time that bike is up here. But it would really disappoint me if the gold wasn't even close, because the camera usually gets it close, but boy, there is no perfection in it. Now my GS, when I painted parts on the GS, I did a camera match, and it was close, but then I had to go back and get it done over again, and it was really a nightmare. But I finally got it. But again, we have enough gold now that even if this gold isn't exactly the way we want it, and this is the original color, and we're going to see how close this comes out. But again, I know there's no guarantee, and this time we have enough paint left over to paint the rest of the bike. Or to do up a set of gold wheels for him if he has a set of extra rims, or whatever. So the whole thing is here is at this point is to get a lot of this smoothed out, etched, get the body work done on it. Now the body work on this was significant because there were several little places where the paint had been dented, or again, I don't know. He said a bike fell on it, but I don't know how it happened. So, but getting off all of the Bondo, and a lot of this tank is Bondo, so this part of it was really a lot of work. And I didn't realize when I started this, I thought this was going to be a couple hours. It took a lot more than a couple hours to get this back to where everything was scratched and etched and level and flat and ready for some primer or ready for something. I don't know what. We never know, because a lot of this, and I don't know, you know, just there might have been an easier way to do this, but I couldn't figure it out ahead of time. But I thought this would be the best of all worlds, because I could copy where the old stripes were to a certain degree. Cleaning everything up with Sikkens M600, always a must. But my biggest concern was getting the gold to match. That was the issue that was getting me, making me crazy to a point here. But just when I was having my maximum level of anxiety, Luciano came over to drop off his Ducati mirrors. Now talk about anxiety. The first set of mirrors I did for Luciano, the paint melted. Again, these are Ducati. The plastic is probably made from old pizza pie boxes or something. You never know with old stuff. You know, they hadn't gotten the plastic formulas right on a lot of the Japanese bikes either. The 750 Honda covers used to melt. GS covers can melt. There's just no guarantee. Now this one had a big gouge that I had to do some body work on. And these are the kind of things that, because Luciano is really excited about this new Ducati 919, we really want to make this as nice as possible for him. And as Luciano is so famous for saying, money is no object as long as it's somebody else's money. But doesn't matter at all. We will get her done. So there really was no choice at the end of this. After all the paint was taken down and everything was primed, it needed 3 or 4 coats of prime, block sanded out, 600 sanded. This got really labor intensive at one point. But there really just isn't any other way that I know of to do this. And again, when you have an accident, the biggest thing, if we had the matching gold paint, this would have been a piece of cake. But again, now we do. We will not fall for that trick again. So I got a brand new Canada's Gold. Brandy new. I got the code number off it. So this is really, this is the number. God forbid we ever have to match this again. Oh my God. And when I looked in the can, it looks pretty close, but you never ever can tell. Because what happens is the more pressure you put in the gun and the less pressure, you can get the flakes to sit at different angles. You can thin the paint and get different results. There's just no substitute for doing it all the same day with the same batch that's in the gun. Just no substitute for that anyway. But anyway, I wanted to look at this and see how this would look, so I shot a little piece. I said, yeah, it looks pretty close. Well, but you never know. Again, this is the kind of stuff, and I only needed to put gold where, you know, where it had to be, because believe it or not, the paint is getting so crazy expensive, and I'm sure it's expensive all over the country, but it makes me crazy that this paint sometime can be, in fact, we got another quart of paint we were looking at, Harley-Davidson paint, $135 a pint. I'll explain more about that later, but it's a whole nother adventure. This is not that adventure. This is the other adventure. Anyway, I got the gold on, so that when I went to bed this night, I was thinking, that may be my lucky day. I don't know. But anyway, and of course that's got to dry overnight. Now the next thing is getting Luciano's mirrors sanded down, and you would think these are not that big of a deal, but there's all kind of dye marks in them. And they're very crude, in fact, the way they pulled the die apart to make this part. It left a razor edge all around the perimeter. You can see these die marks in there. And if we're going to have a really nice piece, I don't want to see those die marks. And of course, this one needed to be repaired a little bit. Nothing a little bit of spot putty wouldn't take care of. Here, in fact, you can see I put the tape. Now this moves, so you got to be real careful so we can get that all painted inside. Another issue. There's a lot of issues. Getting a nice true edge on this with a brand new number 11 blade. Again, of course, this is the second set. I knew I was in for a treat. And finally, after working that edge enough, hopefully getting them in primer. Now, what I had a problem the first time I did these, I did them with a different kind of primer, and it melted the plastic. Now this is Rust-Oleum Auto Primer, which I thought, yeah, we'll give this a try. And we'll find out, of course. I really like the self-etching primer better, but, well, sometimes you can't have everything. Now this little trophy up here, I thought I'd show this. Ray brought this from Florida. This is the bike I'm working on now, the RD, which I restored for Tim 2 years ago. And it won this show that they have in Florida. It looked quite a nice trophy, and the eagle had little gold feet, and it was just really cool. I thought it would look real good by my my little Ducati and my little R1 there. But my concern was after looking at these that maybe these would melt. No, I just get a little nervous about it all the time. And once they're in black, if you don't see any crazing, you know, you're pretty good to go. And they needed 2 coats of black. I got to sand it between coats because, again, you got all those little dye marks, and it's just not a real high-tech part. Now, another thing, I thought I'd put this on the video. This is a cool, very cool little thing. It's a little digital clock and thermometer that you can buy in Pep Boys. It's about 16 bucks. And what it is, I use it as a lap timer. We have a little loop of in the park that early in the morning you can go down and there's basically no traffic. And I can do that lap. I can do a lap in about 9 minutes. And this, I just let it hit 0 and use it like a lap timer. It's really nice. You just wait for it to come up on a minute and then take off. But anyway, what I did, I bought one for the GS to start with. I don't remember which bike I got first. And every time I added one to a bike, I said, geez, this is nice. It tells the temperature. So if you're not sure what the temperature is, now I have a temperature, a big thermometer in my shop, and you want to know, geez, should I wear that extra sweater or whatever? Well, here you go. And what I have a definite temperature that below that I wear my one-piece leathers, and above that I wear the mesh suit. So this is really handy, and I just have to, we have one, I even have one on the FZR here. I really wanted to get Luciano to put one on his Ducati, which he already did, and I got to get him another one, in fact. And I wanted one on the R1. Now the R1 has a little clock, but look how big it is. I mean, you know, obviously there aren't a lot of 68-year-olds riding R1s, but I am. So once I got that set up, you buy it, you take this little wire and just throw it away, because that's a sensor for outside air temperature. You don't need it. There's a little battery in there, and you open that case, put the battery in, and I'll show how I mounted it, because a lot of people would have trouble. You're not going to mount it with Velcro, that's for sure. I took a little piece of balsa wood, split it down the middle. You could use any kind of wood, really. Cut it into 2 triangles. Take a piece of handlebar material and wrap some sandpaper on it. You can see how the sticky back paper wraps around a handlebar. And you can just cut that reverse curve in there, so you get a nice wide glue footprint. I tried the first time I did this to mount it with Velcro. Not happening. Not happening, period. But this worked out nice. This, I think, worked out. You get a nice glue footprint. I put it on with 5-minute epoxy, Brodak 5-minute epoxy, and the idea of that is you can just heat it with a hair gun, 165 degrees, and pull it off. The parts of the wood that show, you can just hit with a Sharpie marker. That makes them basically look like the black plastic that the unit's made out of. Here's the Brodak 5-minute epoxy here. And once it's installed, to me, this is really a handy thing. Now, I like it for a lot of reasons. Is I'm very conscious about getting home at certain times, because we usually have the baby coming at some point in the afternoon. And if I want to be home, let's say at 1 o'clock, I know I have to leave the mountain at a certain time. And this, I know what my points are. I know where 15 minutes from home, a half hour from home, 20 minutes from home. And then I see if I'm falling behind, I can just stop on the side of the road, call Karen, and say I'm going to be late, so she doesn't worry. So this is really a nice little, and the thermometer part is a free bonus. For a $15 option, I think that's just really a nice little thing to have. Just really just special.